ride the wave. Sure. Um, it's good. It's for me. It's just finalizing. We hope. You never know. That's why we go through the process to make sure it's right and it's done appropriately. Just it's finally that piece of the pie is finally over. We can move forward into what's next for us. Just having our family and loving our boys and remembering them and just dealing with that. For me, it was there are bits and pieces that were very. I think to a few things. One was the very beginning when I got the message from Tisha actually that they were requesting dental records. And if his closing, I mean that was eye opening for me and alarming and gut wrenching from the very moment it started. And then moving on, just learning. I knew a lot from being involved in those calls and whatnot, but there was so much I learned throughout the and kind of ride the wave again. But I did also try to be objective um, because, like I just said, you never know. We never knew what to expect, how the jury was reacting, ultimately be. So having that objective approach, I just wanted to be prepared for whatever was to come. We were confident in that the result would be, but you got to kind of have that preparation for the worst. So, uh, it was not as an emotional. I think I moved. I hesitate to say move on from Gannon. I moved forward from her. I think if you heard my statement, I want to be totally separated from her in every way. So yeah, that was yeah. I did glance over from time to time and observe her um, or whatever she did or didn't have, but more from an objective, totally removed from her. If that makes sense. Sure. Um, I didn't hesitate to say, kind of describe briefly those feelings from the beginning. Described her very intelligent and beautiful woman. Fell in love, and but she also had this education, certifications, call it job history of work with children in different areas. So when it relates to that trust, what more certified as it relates to the care and well-being of my children? So um, yeah, that makes it all the more gut wrenching of to that point. It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, it was kind of a build-up. Follow it closely, but for those who haven't, there was kind of a build-up. You start with that initial, you know, and then the request for dinner records, and then when I got home, there was in my testimony, it got objected to, but there was reports from neighbors that was on their ring cameras or whatever surveillance they had. So there was suspicion early on that the story wasn't even the initial, and then that would have been that Tuesday. So Monday, January 27th, I got home as you heard the story, she picked me up from the airport, and that whole scenario with the rental car happened. Well, early evening, I came home from my first interview with El Paso County. Came home. Harley and Lena were there, as we heard testimony to, and I stopped in to check on them. They had plenty of food. I think they were going to go out looking for it. And my thought was just, I was going to go to Walmart over here in Fountain and check it. He knew about, so maybe he, based on the runaway story, could have found his way there. Just it occurred to me like, hey, I'm just gonna go drive and see. And I drove, and I literally drove around the didn't see the Volkswagen. And I remember leaving that parking lot sign right there when you come out of French Elementary. There's a fire station right there. I stopped right in that area, called, and that was my first real freak out moment. And I remember I was I don't freak out often, but I really was. I was out of sorts and kind of out of my mind a little bit, freaking out on the phone with them. And they said, "It's okay, calm down, just come on back downtown." And that's when I went down and did the second interview. But from that point forward, as I stated, if you will, prime suspect. So, well, sadly, looking back, hindsight's always 2020. There was other instances in our relationship where something would happen of a much lesser degree, obviously, where maybe $100 goes missing, or at one point there was she took some money out of the bank account, and then there was a story fabricated. So I kind of had to play Sherlock Holmes in a couple other instances with her. Um, she kind of trained me for it, so I had that experience with her directly. Obviously, much less significant, as I already said. But then sitting there, I knew that, as I stated in my closing statement, I had to put myself in the mind of a killer, which was her mind, good out of her. Obviously, working in conjunction with the FBI. But yeah, it was brutal for 6 8 hours long, and we didn't even hear half of the phone calls. There was so many more that I had to endure. That was my way of helping to find my son. And from the phone calls we did hear, she did give Colonels the truth. You should alluded to her. One that sticks out tremendously is the where she went up north to meet the guy to get a bike or look for a bike, and Gannon had fallen off and hurt his head real bad. That was so many times in those conversations she introduced various injuries. In the moment was impactful, but then later on, as we know, he was found in March, July timeframe. Uh, Learning about all his injuries from the autopsy, patients that she detailed most of them. So it was more of a hindsight feeling of, I believe I made it through that. In the moment, it's just what I had to do. So it's like reliving it all over again. But now, once again, the hindsight story. Um, yeah, it was pretty hard knowing what information she had and how much she was manipulating everything. It was pretty hard. I think it was predictable knowing her. Uh, Anything to, um, the case, anything to prolong her exposure and the attention being on her and try more things. I call them shenanigans, but I'm surprised she didn't make it hard. It was one of the uh, most significant or largest investigations that El Paso County ever has seen. So she did her darndest to. We discussed that at length in my family as well. That we, to do that, I don't know if she took the advice of her attorneys at that point or what. She didn't testify and also did not give a statement at the end. Um, and I don't want to speak for anyone else. I think that was a widespread feeling that we prepared for her to do that and how we were going to combat that. So those who know me know I'm super competitive. So that side of me, yeah, I that so it could be another win for the prosecution and side. Um, but being objective, I think it would have just caused more, maybe not made things more difficult on the prosecution, but just muddied the water, and so it's better that she didn't. Just being objective. So. To a degree, it's you sit there and you like, how can you not have any remorse for what you've done? Not only to Gannon but to Harley. I spoke to that for just a minute with Harley through this, but Harley was her pride and joy, and how knowing what she did, how could she not have any remorse or emotion? I don't know. I mean, yeah, once again, I'm trying to be disconnected from her and trying to get in her mind would only put me back there. So just let her be accountable for that. Uh, I think I spoke to that also. I would like to know what his last words were. You know, play and replay what I see it and how I see it playing out. That's kind of part of the torment that you go from the unknowns that did transpire. Don't think my opinion is she would ever be truthful about any or any of that. So once again, not wanting to ever be around her or ever be connected to her again. If I could just get that answer, I think I would be all right. But I, I, I assure you, I'm not losing sleep over not getting answers from her. That's not something I'm going to allow her to take control of me. Sure. Yeah. Yep. And then as I spoke to trying to find more um, time experiencing him and the memories and stuff, that was talked to Melissa a lot about that. That's really, I don't know why. I think it's because I refuse, as I said, to allow anger and pain to question me. How can you be joyful and live a happy life and get remarried? It's because I choose to live that way. I don't choose to live with anger and things that I feel poison you, make you act in a way that is not ours outside of yourself, so to speak. So I think that's don't want to be connected with her. Yeah, absolutely. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so especially the past couple of days, we've talked a lot about it's really hard to convey this message just to community in general, but I don't want, let me back up, and I can't not deny that. The judge said it was some of the most horrendous acts. That being said, um, there's millions of other people that have lost a parent or a loved one, but especially a child, and that's why our relationship is so special with Melissa. I think probably through our relationship, I've learned so much. Unique. Everyone's loss is the greatest thing they can. So for me to come out and say mine is larger, mine is the biggest one ever, I'm just not. Hers is hers, and all those who have loss, I can stand there and look at others' loss and really say, like, going through because I've chosen to take that perspective. It would be really easy to stand up on the podium and say this is the worst. Um, I think that would be a fair assessment, but I just don't think that's right. I think because we love and care for others, that we've chosen to take that path. So, yeah, absolutely. I think especially at the end, it really came out. And in my testimony, the very first witness was, I was just loving. I think that one, I quoted him as being a mama's boy, and I'll never change that. Did he love his daddy? Absolutely. He loved his sister. His Nana was another most important person in his life, which is Landon's mom. But he just loved everyone. And I've said this too. It's coming from a parent. I think you want the world to think the best of your child, but I've learned losing him that his classmates and kids that go to church with him, separate from me that I didn't even know personally, that was their reaction. He was just so helpful and loving to friends and those that weren't his close friends as well. So I think that too, just remember Gannon and just remember that's just kind of a theme for our household: kindness and love. So, yeah, I think if I live my life to honor him and his legacy, is to be who I was with him and not change because we had Lena had a great relationship and it was based. The foundation was on that love for one another. And what I probably got tired of hearing it, but never knew it would come true is, we can replace the table and the carpet case, but we can get a new house, but we can't get new people in our lives. And the way we treat one another, not just our family, others around us. So, whenever, as you've asked and others have asked, what defines him, it's just I think it ripped a brand new hole deep inside of me. From that, because you don't really. Once again, I try to embrace my emotions, but also don't think this is the worst thing that's ever happened to any child. But then you hear that from someone, a judge who has seen, you would think the worst of the worst, and then he says this is the worst of the worst. It kind of it ripped a hole deep inside, just to know that him being Gannon is hard. Especially, I try to be um, family and protect and provide all those things that I believe a father and a man should be. And then to hear that, I mean, it did. It ripped a hole deep inside me. So, yeah, when Dave said that, that really, Mr. Young, um, I think he was talking about his picture, but he did say Gannon has been up here the whole time. That, once again, that revved up some emotion. I think more figuratively than anything because as I showed the picture at the end, I've known that he, he was cremated because his remains were so awful. But for me, it's just tragic that that's how he ended up, it was just in a little box like that, as I stated in my opening, that when I first held him, it was only big enough to fit in my two hands. So yeah, I think Mr. Young did a great job of bringing it to a little bit of reality. It's about Gannon, and they've had even his picture we had to shove in a box while the rest of the trial was going. Appreciated that statement, and it revved up some emotions for sure. Um, yeah, and once again, there's two sides. The objective side of me understands that that's the process. But then the side is looking on the whole process, and she did her best to make it all about herself. And I know you've been here every step of the way, and as she tried to create more attention for herself through different things she was doing, um, I when I wrote media was always trying to bring it back to him, um, because that's ultimately what it was about. What happened to him, his legacy, as it became more popular and more well known, especially. So, I think, just to reiterate what I've said over and over, that you can't replace people, and just to, especially your loved ones, but others as well, just share that love daily. And we just discussed this the other day, but we look all of our children in the eye at least once a day, and make sure they know they're loved, and the love we share. We make sure we probably overdo it, but we tell each other how much we love them regularly, because we know that it's only an instant away that you might not get that opportunity. So, what I want to leave with the world is that I can lay my head on my pillow in peace with my relationship with Gannon every night for the rest of my life, because I know our last embrace was love. It was, as I always sent them away wherever, or if I was going for training or they were going to their mom's house, it was always, a hug, I love you, I was saying, and that was the last embrace I had with him, and I think that's what I want the world to know. Just don't cherish those moments and don't miss an opportunity to share that love. And the love we share, we make sure we probably overdo it, but we tell each other how much we love them regularly, because we know that it's only an instant away that you might not get that opportunity. So, what I want to leave with the world is that I can lay my head on my pillow in peace with my relationship with Gannon every night for the rest of my life because I know our last embrace. As I always sent them away wherever, or if I was going for training or they were going to their mom's house, it was always, a hug, I love you, I'm in your heart and you're in mine. That was our little saying. And that was the last embrace I had with him. And I can sleep peacefully at night knowing that. And I think that's what I want the world to know. Just don't cherish those moments and don't miss an opportunity to share that love.
Was that piece so, the right word would be humble. So tough, right? I'm sure you've seen him go through so much during this case. Talk throughout this case and after this verdict.
He's a proud father. I can relate a lot to him. When he does open up and express his tears, this has been a long time coming, and hearing that verdict, I did feel like it was like a weight lifted.
I'm like, how?
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you guys?
I think I've said most of what I want to say. I'm thankful for everyone. I'll start with you guys, the media, but specifically you and a few others I think you're aware of that have been there the whole way. Absolutely amazing in your respect for Drew and our privacy, but also honoring, when I need space or been absolutely amazing and truly unforgettable. The media in general as well has been pretty good. I have very few, if any, complaints. I'd say starting from the beginning, the community really showed the goodness and once again the love that people do still have for one another. We hear about all the bad all the time, but this is truly a story of unity and togetherness in a neighborhood, a larger city, all over the country, and even different parts of the world. I've heard about. Many thanks to everyone in I just call it the authorities, whether it's the DA's office, the sheriff's office, FBI. Mr. Allen told me recently, he gave me a coin that had Gannon with the cape on it, and the 22 means that there's 22 different agencies in the authorities, law enforcement or whatnot, that have had a part of this, and that's blew me away. I did not know. But 22 agencies from around the country that are involved. Every single person that had a piece of this. I think I want to leave everyone with just a message of hope. You've had a lot of experience with me, and thank you for the comment of I just hide it very well. I know she said the same, but her having gone through the same thing, and she hasn't missed a beat, and she knows when I'm struggling before I do. Somehow I accused her of planting a chip in my head when we were dating because she knows all of my thoughts and all of my feelings as I'm feeling them and before I'm feeling them sometimes. Such a special woman. But a message of hope that, we pray that no one ever experiences a loss like this or like she's experienced or any other loss of a child, but that you can move forward. You can. It takes a lot, and it takes a lot of time, but you can put the pieces together, and you can show emotion and you can show feeling, but you can wherever you draw that strength from. We draw ours from God. and I acknowledge others draw it from different places, but that hope that you can persevere and you can move on, or move forward, I should say. That's what I want, a message of hope.